Alright, welcome to Unit 6, Bandsaw Safety. If you haven't gotten a copy of the notes, pause the video and go get a set of notes. I want you to follow along. As I said earlier, I'm not going to read these notes word for word to you. I'm going to discuss the meaning of the rules. It is your responsibility to actually read the paper that you have. Alright? So let's get started. As usual with any piece of equipment, you've got to wear safety glasses or goggles when you're working around a bandsaw. The worst is going to happen, or the least that's going to happen, is I'm going to revoke your privileges. The worst that can happen is you can lose your eyes. All right? Keep the goggles on. Keep the safety glasses on. Number 2, know how to stop the saw under all conditions. There's the on-off button right there on the side. When you need to shut the thing off, there's the stop button. It's right there. You don't have to reach for it. It's not out where you have to bend over anything. It's right there in front of you. Our bandsaw does not have an emergency stop button. Some machines do. Ours doesn't. Ours doesn't have a brake onto it, so emergency stop would not be beneficial. Just know when you press that button, sometimes it takes a moment for the blade to come to a stop. If you've got to stop that blade in a hurry, put a little pressure on it with a piece of wood or something, but do not touch it with these. Never touch that blade with these. Ever. I don't know how hard I can say that. Don't touch it. Number 3, loose clothing, long hair, earbuds, jewelry can become entangled in this machine so fast. I did a demonstration to a class the other day how fast a piece of fabric can caught in that thing. By the time I even said, here it goes, it was already done. And you can't get your arm out of that. Just put all that stuff away. You're not supposed to have earbuds in the first place. Saw blades are very sharp. They're made out of steel. They're made out of a spring steel, which means they will jump. If you try to fold them up, they'll try to straighten themselves back out. They have teeth on them. They're very sharp. If they can cut brass and aluminum, do you think it can cut the skin on our body? Yes. They can cut the bone in our arms. So be very careful. Number 5, use extreme caution around the chips. Aluminum can cut you. Brass can cut you. Can sawdust? Not really, but maybe there could be splinters or chips or whatever inside that sawdust. We never use our hands to clean up the debris. We use a hand brush. We don't use compressed air to clean out the machine. It's always done with a hand brush. We also have a vacuum right next door. You're welcome to vacuum it out as well. And sometimes I'll ask you to do that. Number 6, since the vertical bandsaw does not have a power feed, you have to feed the material in. You are just remain in control of that part. You've got to keep it at a safe, steady speed. Don't push it too fast. If you push it too fast, you could slip, and your hands will go past the project. And unfortunately, sometimes you might slip and you hit the blade. And again, I only have 5 in this hand, 5 in this hand. I plan on keeping them all. If you got to cut real close to the blade, I will show you techniques that will prevent your hands from getting anywhere near it. They're called push sticks and V-blocks, jigs, stuff like that will keep our hands away from that blade. But let me show you that. Number 7, never measure your part while the part is still being cut. I've been working with machines 25, 30 years. I have never found the need to take a tape measure and stick it up there next to a running blade. Don't know why. Number 8, before changing the blade, make sure the power is shut down. I want it unplugged from the wall. I want to see that power cord laying up on the machine before we open it up and start doing any maintenance on this machine. If that machine comes on with us messing with it, we're going to get hurt. You guys, I can't stress this enough. This machine can do serious bodily damage. All right? It's not a play toy. None of my equipment is. Number 9, make sure the spindle is completely stopped before changing the blade. How can you change it if the thing's running? You can't even get the blade in there. Just make sure the spindle's off. And if it's unplugged, how can the spindle be turning in the first place? Right? Number 10, make certain that the workpiece is properly supported before beginning to cut. Just like I said a little while ago. Cutting dowel rods is very dangerous. You think, oh, it's just a little round piece of wood. I can just zip it right through and it'll be fine. It's round. That machine runs in a rotary motion. If it catches that dowel rod just right, it can start spinning the dowel rod. And if you're trying to hang on to it, it might not be very pleasant. We have jigs. We have fixtures for that. All right? Just when you get to this weird stuff like that, I'll help you. Another thing that you need to be aware of when you're cutting on a bandsaw, sometimes when you cut things loose, the table's small enough, they could fall off. Make sure they don't fall on your feet. Make sure they don't fall on the power cords or anything else that could be damaged down below. Know what's going to happen. Have a good idea what's going to happen before you start working. Think the process through. Number 11 really does not apply to our classroom. We don't have a horizontal bandsaw. Those are primarily used in metal shops, fabrication shops. They're extremely expensive, but you can't cut curved lines with them. They just cut straight lines. Bandsaw, we can cut some curves and stuff with it. But if you're using a horizontal bandsaw, make sure the vise is closed on it. It has a vise on it where you clamp the wood or material into it, and then the blade moves down. In our case, the blade is spinning and we move the wood. It's totally opposite procedure. Before starting up saw, make sure that there's no loose tools laying around. When you're getting everything set up, it's customary that sometimes you have screwdrivers, Allen wrenches, whatever, while you're getting everything set up. Before you turn that power switch on, get all that stuff off the table. That's just stuff that could get hit by the blade, thrown around the room, whatever. Just put it away. You're done with it anyway. Go put it up. Number 13 on the second page. When sawing thin pieces of metal or small parts, put them inside of a piece of wood that'll hold it, and then cut it. It kind of gives you a little extra support. When you got little pieces of metal you're trying to cut in half, put it inside of another piece and cut it from there. It just gives that much more support to it, and preventing the part from being pulled out of your hands and into the saw. 14. Never attempt to cut round stock while holding in the material in your hand. The dowel rod. Again, the machine can grab it and spin it out of your hand, and it'll go everywhere. There's a little jig called a V-block. I don't have one in the lab right now. I've got to build a new one. The one I had was made for our old bandsaw, and it's not big enough for the one that we have. So I'll have to build a new one for it. And everybody builds them. They're real easy to build. But when you get ready to cut V-block, if I don't have it made, we'll make one first, then we'll work with it. 15. Always set the minimal clearance for the top of the piece to the blade guide. I always use the pinky rule. If you bring the saw guide down and you can't get your pinky between it and the project, that's good enough. If you can slide your finger underneath the saw guide, it's too high. I've got probably a fairly decent sized little finger. Some of you guys have some really small little fingers. The same rule applies. It doesn't matter. As long as you can't get your finger underneath of it, you're golden. 16. Make certain that the saw blade has come to a complete stop before making any adjustments. You know, that's a rule on every tool. I don't care if it's drill press, bandsaw, CNC lathe, mills, routers, whatever. That machine's got to be a complete stop before you make any adjustments. On our bandsaw, never cut anything harder or brass than aluminum. That's as hard as we need to do. Our machine can do steel, but it's not really made for it. It's on the bottom end of the capabilities of doing steel. Coolants, we're not going to spray anything on our machine to keep it cool, because we're not going to cut any steel. If we were cutting steel, then we'd have to put some sort of coolant on it. And if we did use coolant, that brings you into number 19. Watch for grease and oil that's spilt down on the floor. wax floor, put a little oil onto it, and we have a skating rink, and we don't want one of them in our room. So if you spill it, you use it a little bit, it's your job to get down there on that floor and check, make sure it's clean. Number 20, if a workpiece begins to vibrate and make excessive noise, or the blade gets jammed, shut the machine off immediately. Don't sit there and try to figure out what's wrong while it's running. Shut it off, then we'll figure out what's going on. The blade might have come loose. A guide might have shaken loose over the time being used, something like that. But we need to diagnose that with the machine shut off. I don't know if you noticed the common theme in here. The machine is shut off when you're trying to make adjustments or changes or setups. Never, ever use a machine that's turned on and try to change the blade cut or the safety guide or whatever. You're just asking to get hurt. You're inviting an accident to happen. Don't do it. All right? Okay. If you have any questions, you know where I'm at. I'll be happy to answer them. Take your time on this one. Read the handout thoroughly, then take the test. All right? Let's try to limit the number of times that we have to take a test. Taking a test 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times, you're not proving anything. Okay? Once or twice, that's fine. But after that, what are you really proving? Okay, so that's it. Good luck. See you next time.